Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we are going to be talking about NJCC, the New Jersey Collectors Convention. I've got some new to the collection items, as well as some news articles, so it's a little bit of everything. And I hope you guys enjoy the ride. So on Sunday, actually, when I'm filming this, I attended the New Jersey Collectors Convention. It's a pretty long-standing toy show in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's always at the Holiday Inn. And I've been going literally for years. And this year they did a special event. It used to always be just a one-day event, and they've kind of expanded it to be a two-day event for the past several years. I like to go on Saturdays, preferably, than the Sunday. But this year I was actually away on Saturday, so I couldn't go. And then Sunday was a special New Jersey Collectors Con Joe meetup. So the idea was that the vendors would be Joe themed, and the merchandise would be Joe themed, and the finest was going to be there. So I decided I want to check it out. I kind of reached out to some of my friends, see who was going to be there. A lot of the people I typically go to toy shows weren't going to be there, but some of my friends that I see only a few times a year were actually going to be there. So I figured it was worth the drive and check it out, see what is going on at NJCC. The event takes place in the lobby and the ballroom of the hotel. There's not a whole lot in the lobby. You kind of like pay your registration. They had the finest there when you first walked in. Marauder Gun Runners, the company that made little Joe scale weapons, but now makes whole 1/18 scale figures. They were there, and there was like one vendor out in the hallway, and then you could go into the ballroom, and that was a fairly typical layout for an NJCC. But it was predominantly G.I. Joe merch for sale. I was told by a friend that was there both days that about 75% of the vendors were just there on Sunday, the people that I was looking at, whereas there were other people there on Saturday. So I guess maybe it was worth going both days. My buddies that I was hanging out with at the show actually stayed overnight at that hotel because they are, from a more southern area of the country. They don't have the convenient drive to Cherry Hill that I have. What did I do at NJCC? Well, when I got there, I walked around the floor. I did spot my friends. I talked to some people that, I always see vending at these kind of shows. And just kind of looked around, was taking in some things. I spotted a Serpentor with a cape that I thought was in pretty nice shape. And Serpentor's cape is on my list of things that I want for my collection. And I'm to the point now where I'm sort of like buying complete versions of characters to get their accessories, because at this point it's basically cheaper to do that than to try and just buy the lone accessories. And I'm trying to complete my collection. I actually have my Joe book here. This is my sort of official checklist. We actually have a whole episode I did with Farpoint on toy guides. If you're into these kind of books, it's a fun episode to check out. But I had paper, like graph paper inserts that I kept in a sleeve in this that had written down at least most of what I needed, because this gets old. I flipped through it to a certain page, and here I've got complete. All right, so this page I don't need to worry about, right? This page, I need Serpentor's cape. Complete, right? But it's not very efficient to, like, sift through this book at a show when I'm digging through a bin to see what I need. But I misplaced my list. So anyway, I had this with me. I wasn't, like, super into, like, flipping through it, but I did do some accessory hunting, which is kind of the main thing I've been working on with the Joe collection, is trying to finish up a bunch of those figures. Shortly after getting there, I ran into my buddies Dave and Henry. They were kind of finishing up at a booth, and they were interested in getting lunch. There's a restaurant in the hotel, but it is always closed at lunchtime, which is very inconvenient. So we were sitting out in the lobby. There's like a table and some chairs out there. We were looking at a takeout menu for a pizza place we're going to get to deliver for us. And Dave and Henry and I were going over our order, and Carson from 3D Joe's walked by, and he was kind of chit-chatting with us. I had talked to him earlier when I first got there, so we invited him to join us for lunch, and we placed an order for, some burgers and subs and stuff like that. And just kind of hung out in the lobby. It was actually probably the highlight of the event for me, was just hanging out with some buddies of mine and Carson. Just kind of, talking Joe community. We talked about, experiences with meeting Larry Hama and some of the other Joe creators, some of the projects that Carson's working on with Operation Recall, and the Collecting the Art omnibus that he's putting together. We talked about Henry's passion for variations in G.I. Joes and some of the mold differences with internal structures of figures and things like that. It was just, some fun nerding out with other toy collectors. On my first time around the room, I popped into Kevin Watts' booth. He's like a staple at NJCC. He often does custom exclusive toys. This year they were raffling off customized Hiss tanks. I assume he used the Walmart ones that were released recently, but they were awesome. They had like blue camo to them. They were raffle prizes, and one of the vendors, Jim Butello, actually won 2 of them, and Kevin was, kind of heckling him from his corner. But when I stopped by his booth earlier, I was taking a look at his 2-up of the Headhunter Stormtrooper. If you're not familiar with 2-ups, these are scaled up, double-sized action figures that were made back in the day as part of the action figure making process, and they were hand-painted to show, what these figures would look like. And Hasbro has some of them. They actually had a bunch of them on display at San Diego Comic-Con this year, but a lot of them got out to collectors over the years, and Kevin Watts has had several pass through his hands. I've actually seen a few over the years at NJCC in his booth. And so anyway, he let me take a look at it, and he actually let me come back later and lift the glass and get some really nice footage of the Headhunter. So this is the Paint Master. This transparency, I guess, was like the artwork to being used for packaging. He has a loose head. He has like a prototype, like a test shot of the figure, as well as a carded sample. So just a really nice, overall collection that would make a great shadow box kind of thing for the figure. And it's one of the best figures from the tail end of the line. So while walking around, like I said, I spotted a Serpentor that I really wanted to get. While we were eating lunch, it sold. So I never actually got to ask the guy how much he was asking for on it. I did see another one there that was going for $80. I don't know if he had his knife with him, and I don't know. I didn't bite the bullet on it. I don't really need the chariot. I don't really even need the Serpentor figure. So ideally, I would love to be able to just buy a Serpentor with the cape, maybe the knife and the snake or something, but without the chariot. But that probably won't happen. So I'm probably eventually will buy the whole thing. But it wasn't today. Today was not the day. I did pick up a few accessories, though. I got Salvo's briefcase. Mine has a lot of playwear on it. The handle is really kind of thick, and putting it in and out of his hands over, many times as a kid, I have a lot of, chew marks on there. So I picked up a new one of those. I grabbed Blizzard's gun, his little pistol, and I'm not totally sure if I need it or not, but I felt like I did. But I didn't actually take a moment to look in the book while I was there. Is Blizzard an 88 figure or an 89 figure? Oh, he might be 87. Whew, I'm getting rusty here, guys. 87. Blizzard. He's complete. I didn't need his gun. Oh, well. I bought his pistol. I had a hunch I needed it. Oh, well. I got an eel mouthpiece and hoses. These things are always great to have, for army builders to try and complete more of my eels, so I had to pick up that. And then actually I spotted Stretcher's control stick in a bin and passed on it, and Dave and Henry looked through it, and then I went out to the car and finally got my book, because I had already bought the Blizzard's gun, and I was like, this happens to me all the time, where I buy something because I remember I needed it for a while, and then I forgot that I did pick it up. So anyway, I realized I needed Stretcher's control handle, couldn't find it in the bin again, asked Henry if he bought it out of there. He said no, and we were talking to Kevin Watts, or he was talking to Kevin Watts when I mentioned it, so Kevin gave me the control rod, so special thanks to him for helping me complete my Stretcher. I need to make sure I mark that off in the book so I don't buy that accessory again. My last purchase from NJCC was this Action Force International Heroes Activity book. Actually, my buddy Dave had this with him and asked me, showed it to me, and then asked me if I was interested in it. And I love this kind of stuff. The books, the ephemera that were related to G.I. Joe, and especially Action Force, because it's harder to come by here. This is printed by Ladybird, who is a publisher that printed a lot of Masters of the Universe books back in the day. But this is an activity book, so it has, connect the dots and mazes and all kinds of goofy stuff in it. Directions for folding, paper sky strikers, find the difference, decode the message. The artwork's not bad, I have to say. It's not... I mean, it seems like it's based on the cartoon, mostly. I don't see a lot of details that are, like, toy-specific. You know, the Cobra Troopers don't have gloves on. Although some of these poses on this page are inspired by the card backs with Shipwreck and Lady J and all those guys. But anyway, I thought this was kind of a fun book. And, you know, maybe it's the most substantial item I picked up today. But overall, today was more of a hangout than a purchasing spree. So the haul portion of this video is a little smaller, but hopefully you'll enjoy some of the stuff coming up in New to the Collection. So New to the Collection, I just got Volume 12 of Dan's Klingensmith's Creating G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero book series. These books contain facts and information about the process of designing the toys, pictures of prototypes, Polaroids, sketches, different things like that. And every book features different characters from throughout the run. I think he's about to, you know, start book 13 or fundraising for book 13. I think 13 might be the last one. We'll see. But he has really covered the line pretty thoroughly in these books, and I do enjoy them, looking through them and kind of just absorbing all the information. I certainly don't remember all of it, but I get a kick out of them. Maybe a week ago, my wife wanted to go to a consignment sale to look for clothes for the kids, and there's always like a toy section there, and so I was going to go along to entertain the boys, so she could take one to look for clothes in his size while I entertained one, and then we'd swap. And so we're checking out the toy section, looking at Nerf guns and Lego sets, and I saw a placard for like G.I. Joe and Army toys, and it caught my eye. And at first all I saw was like a Red Ninja Funko Pop and like a Storm Shadow figure that was like nothing. But while hanging out in that area for a little while, I actually found a Tigerfish. Now, the Tigerfish isn't complete. It has the red gun on the front, has the movable engines, and one removable engine cover on the back. So it's definitely missing some parts, but this was a No Joe Left Behind kind of moment. But anyway, picked this up. You know, maybe at some point I'll be able to complete it. Otherwise, maybe I'll just, you know, strip it for parts, help somebody out that needs a gun and a engine cover. I actually think I sent one of these to Hooded Cobra Commander at one point. I don't know if that one was complete, but I had I think a partially complete one in a set that I bought at a flea market one time, and it was a vehicle he needed. So I should check with him, because if all he needs is an engine cover or something, I could finish that off for him. The other exciting thing I found at that sale was the Superpowers Batmobile. Now, it's missing the front windshields here, and it's pretty beat up. I mean, some kids had some fun with this, but again, I just couldn't leave it behind. It has the working battering ram. It has a headlight feature here. And it also has like a capture claw on the back that can grab a guy there. This was just with a sticker on it. Vintage Batmobile. So I thought that was kind of neat. And I just couldn't leave it behind. They were the only at all vintage toys at the consignment sale. But I had to bring them both home with me. One more thing for New to the Collection. It's I'm filming this during PowerCon weekend. It's a big convention out in Ohio. It's moved around a few times, but I think it's kind of found its home now. I've never been there. Would like to get out there one of these years, but it just always falls kind of bad timing. But one of the exclusives I did order. It's the Major Bendies exclusive Spencer Power action figure. And if you don't know who Spencer Power is, it is Pixel Dan's wrestling alter ego. So I was able to get a bendy version of Pixel Dan. This is his first time being featured as an action figure. They threw in a little trading card there. I thought this was kind of cool. It is in fan-friendly packaging. There's just a little tab here, so you can slide out the back. Have not decided yet if I'm going to display this loose or in the package. I don't know how much movability you really get out of this thing. The limbs are kind of thick here at the elbow. Yeah, it's kind of like a rubber figure, but there's not a whole lot of permanent posing you're going to get out of him. But I do think that's pretty cool, and congratulations to Dan for being immortalized in plastic. Major Bendies is also doing a Sergeant Slaughter figure in this line, which I was tempted to get, but these are a little pricey, so I think I'm passing on Sarge. In toy news, we got a couple stories to talk about this week. One of them, two of them really are kind of follow-ups to last week. So Mattel Creations launched the pre-sale for Fanger, and he's already shipping. It's insane. We're so used to, at this point, with all the collector toys, ordering things and waiting 6 months or a year or 2 years to get them. So it was amazing that Mattel is like turning around things like that. The only downside is that a pre-order like this means that a bunch of people probably didn't get the character. Fanger is maybe not a die-hard character that you have to have. He was a new Snakeman character created during Masters Universe Classics. So if you just collect vintage characters, maybe you don't care, or you just collect kind of like the core characters, maybe you don't care. So I don't feel as bad that this was one of these pre-order quick sellout figures versus like Grizzlor, who I felt like is not an A-lister, but, you know, important enough he shouldn't have been an instant sellout. In a recent episode, I talked about Funko reducing their staff. Well, now they're also reducing their product line by about 30%. Funko lost $73 million in Q2, so by reducing SKUs by 30%, they think they're going to be able to balance this out. The large wholesalers are just not ordering as many figures, so they can't be producing as many different figures. They got to focus the smaller crew on less product to make the company work and get those products out on shelves. I also have a theory here because the article did talk about reducing inventories and things like that. If they can make some of the toys actually sell out and not have everyone be able to get everything and not have stuff hit clearance, it should help increase the perceived value and the desire to have some of this stuff, because that's one of the problems they're having now is like, we've seen that. We've done this, you know, people got into Funko and got back out of Funko, and I haven't really been watching the prices, but I don't know if a lot of the stuff's retaining that much value, unless it's something really rare from the early days of Funko. So, you know, if they can slim down the product line and kind of just sell the right amount, maybe they can, you know, get that buzz going again when people are trying to find a Funko Pop and not finding it, and then asking the stores, oh, why can't you get more of these, and, you know, reinvigorate the brand a little bit. In a previous episode, I was talking about some of the hot toys this holiday season. Dave Middleton has revealed his list of the top 10 toys for Christmas in no particular order. Dave Middleton owns several toy stores, so that's kind of where he gets his authority here. And his list kind of mirrors some of those things. I'm not going over the whole list, but some of the things that he mentioned match the previous list I talked about, and some of them just seem like pretty solid options. The TMNT Mutant Mayhem Turtle Van that launches pizzas, that is on his list. I think that there's a great possibility of that. You know, the movie's doing well. They'll get kids excited. There's the nostalgia of parents wanting to get their kids sort of like the modern version of what they had growing up. So I think that's a pretty safe bet. Furby by Hasbro is on David's list. It was on the other list. We've got that 90s nostalgia going on. It's a virtual pet, so it does kind of tie into the kids not really playing with toys, but being into electronics trend. So I think that there's a strong basis for that. Magic Mixie's Pixeling Dolls. These were like the hot toy last year, so great chance that they will be very popular again this year. All the kids that missed out last year or got to play with their friends still wants one of those. So keep your eye out for them. Squishmallows. He had a couple different Squishmallow products on there, a Monopoly game as well as something else. Squishmallows are these like soft pillow, like, I don't know, it's a combination of a Beanie Baby and a pillow. And I never thought I'd see a Squishmallow that was made for me. Not that it's really made for me, but I never thought I'd see like my brands on Squishmallows. They tend to be like cutesy animals or like Disney characters. But when I was at the boardwalk the other day at the beach, I saw a Mechagodzilla and a Mothra Squishmallow, and I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. Bitsy Digital Pets was another item on David's list, and this is kind of a Tamagotchi, but in a new format. It comes in a box. You interact by rubbing your finger over it. I haven't seen one in person, but it seems to like either use a mirror or something to make it seem like the pet is displayed in the open space, and when you put your finger in, it interacts with you then. And of course, you know, you gotta still clean up poop and things like that, which kids love. I could see this being another hot item. I feel like it's very similar to the Furby with the nostalgia and the gaming aspect and the electronic aspect, and not really being a physical toy that you know, pose and play with the way action figure is. And the last thing I picked out off of his list was a Lego set. It's the Ahsoka Clone Trooper Battle Pack. Lego is always classic and always popular at the holidays, and you're going to have the promotion of the Disney Plus show for this. Star Wars is always a big brand, and the first licensed brand ever to be made into Lego sets, so I think this has a lot of velocity possibilities there. The last article I wanted to talk about was entitled, Hasbro's Lucasfilm Team Talks Future of Star Wars and Indiana Jones Toys. So Hasbro's Lucasfilm team seems to be a set number of people, and no matter how many Lucasfilm properties they work on, that's all the people that design those toys. So the reason we don't see more Star Wars toys is because that's all they can design. They can't be making, you know, waves and waves and waves worth of them. They can't be working on Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Willow all at once. In fact, it actually kind of talks about trying to sort of pick and choose your battles as to how many things they can be designing at once, and so they chose not to make Willow figures in order to make Indiana Jones figures, and they're just kind of hoping that that was the right bet. The team says there's nobody off limits, which I don't really believe, because we've heard already that, you know, Lucasfilm and Disney won't allow them to do the Hutt Slayer Leia anymore, or the Slave Leia anymore. We had recently heard rumors, or there was talk that the villain from the second Indiana Jones movie would never get made as a toy. They say there's no restrictions, and their proof is that they've made Nazis in the Indiana Jones line. Maybe they're right. They're really hoping that the current wave of Indiana Jones toys do well so they can make more characters from Dial of Destiny as well as the other movies. They basically said, you know, each wave selling rate affects the next wave, and how many things can they produce and how much can they sell, and, you know, what options they'll be allowed to do, because, you know, obviously the reason there's like so many indies in the Indiana Jones line is he's the lead character. He's in all the important moments, so if they can do all the different outfits and the looks from all those scenes, that's good. And they're hoping they sell better than like background characters and henchmen and things like that. But, you know, if they can continue to move product, then they'll get to some of those other characters. And Star Wars is kind of the same thing. We see that all the time where, you know, they put out some key characters and then we get one like Pegwarmer, but is, you know, a character that the fans really do want. You know, the guy with the ice cream maker, or a Cantina alien, or whatever. The article does go on to talk about supply chain issues as well as the success of the Star Wars holiday figures, and you know, just kind of deep dives into some more stuff. But it was interesting hearing them talk about the influence and the impact that they feel trying to make figures that are requested by people, and, you know, whether they can swap things in and out of waves, and usually they have to just kind of go with the plan. And I get that, because they're balancing tooling costs and paint costs and everything else. They can't just willy-nilly throw anything at the wall that they want. They've got, you know, to plan things out ahead of time to take advantage of paint app, you know, the number of paint applications or reused parts and things like that. That, you know, we know about as collectors, but you just wouldn't necessarily know as a general consumer. So I talked about NJCC. I showed off some stuff that I picked up there and recently got in the mail. I actually have a small stack of figures over there that I need to open up sometime soon, but I'm not going to pull them into this episode. And we talked about the news a little bit. If you see a Pegwarmer at the store, if you see like a whole peg of somebody, snap a picture, send it to me on Twitter. I want to start getting back into featuring Pegwarmers on here. I just don't go to the store. I don't go hunting like every week to try to track down something that's sitting there on the shelves to put in there. Some of the people on Patreon help me out with that once in a while also. But you as a general fan can help out with that by sending me a picture on Twitter. That would be fantastic. Because I love sharing the toys that have a slower sales velocity. I'm actually considering doing an episode going to Ollie's and doing some filming there, because Ollie's sells all the Pegwarmers. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching this episode. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so, share this video with a toy collecting friend, consider joining the Patreon to support the channel financially, and thanks for hanging on the peg with me.